Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Spider-Gwen the Ghost-Spider, issue number 1. It's a tie-in from Spider-Geddon. And it's not bad. It's not bad, but I'm going to get into why it's not great either. Okay, let's get into who actually made this comic book. Spider-Geddon Part 1, Uncharted, written by Sonan McGuire. Sorry, I don't speak Gaelic. Artist Rossi Campe. Let's see. Color artist Ian Herring. Letterer VC's Joe Cowles. Joe Cowles, where did that come from? Clayton Cowles. And cover artist Bengal. Variant cover artist Andrew C. Robinson, Prolo Rivera, and Jim Hyung Lee. So yeah, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee created the Gwen Stacy character. Cool, man. Cool. So basically, this is going to be a tie-in to Spider-Geddon Part 2. You'll clearly see in the book where it relates. In fact, if you're reading this comic book by itself without having read that, I can only say that there's a part in there where Spider-Gwen is with the other spiders, the other spider totems, and they're fighting, and then she basically sacrifices herself. We don't actually know how she sacrifices herself entirely because there's a big explosion and a whole lot of questions. But if you read that and then you read this, and you should read that first if you're going to read it at all, and then come back here, you'll at least see where the change is. But when you first start reading this comic book, even after having just read that, you're going to be confused because it starts off before that. A couple pages in, it turns into, oh, that just happened, so now we're over here. And then you start reading it from there. And I can't imagine reading it without having read the Spider-Geddon Part 2, issue number 2, which also just came out this week. But I can't imagine reading it without that. But even having had read that, it's still a little bit confusing. Especially, you'll figure it out afterwards. But I started reading this comic book several pages into it before I finally said, oh, that's what's happening. Okay, now I get it. Like, it was really bad in that regard. She says at one point, I need a new name. And she calls herself Spider-Woman towards the end of the comic book. But she calls her that in the past. I've never read Spider-Gwen. And I feel like I probably should have, but I've heard bad things about the comic book itself. I don't know if it was good or bad. I'm only going by what I've heard from neutral-headed people, all right? Not jerks on the internet. So just level-headed people. I've heard that it's nothing great. It's not going to grab you. It's like, wow, I went in thinking it was going to be great, and it kind of disappointed me because it wasn't great. That's all that I've really heard about the Spider-Gwen comic. At the same time, something did happen at the end that as someone who didn't read it, I don't understand what the heck happened. Somehow she went to jail for a while. What the frig? So I guess everybody knows that she's Gwen Stacy? Then why does she wear the costume? It looks cool. That's why. That's good enough. But, so I don't really know what's going on. And then she goes to a completely different universe, which... I'm confused. Through it all, I'm confused. She fights this character who's like a female Green Goblin weirdo who's just laughing all the time and says, stop moving so I can squash you. Ha 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 ha. Who are you? Ha ha ha. Why are you attacking me? Ha ha ha. Oh my God, somebody please kill that character off. She's told to stop. We don't know why she's told to stop. Peter Parker shows up. And then there's an interaction that happens at the end that I'm not going to completely spoil, but Peter Parker shows up and some things are said and done that's a little bit interesting, a little bit weird. I wouldn't say interesting because I'm not dying to read the next issue. I feel like there was just huge mistakes made towards the end of that. But I don't get what's happening with this Green Goblin chick because none of that makes any sense. The whole comic book is really just kind of But in the meantime, I don't know. It looks like it could be fun. It's called Ghost-Spider. I imagine that's going to be her new name. I think that's a great name for the character, but I don't see the point in naming it Ghost-Spider since she didn't get called Ghost-Spider in this issue or prior to this issue. So I don't know why they're calling her Ghost-Spider right now. Hey, if next issue or 5 issues from now they're like, I've decided to take on the name Ghost-Spider. Oh, well then it'll make sense why you called it Ghost-Spider already. I don't like that. I don't like that. I think that it should have been established prior to this comic book that she's called Ghost-Spider. I don't want to know in advance what she's going to choose her name to be. Because right now with her saying, I've got to figure out some kind of a new name for myself, every single one of us, okay, however you're going to look at it, is going to say, hey, Gwen, how about the title? How about you call yourself Ghost-Spider? It's one of those little peevances that we're all going to react to in different ways, but it's still going to be considered a peevance because the answer is already given to us, but the character doesn't know the answer. So that means that we're smarter than the character, which makes it boring to read in that regard, just in that regard. So anytime that she's going to say, I think I need a new name. What should my name be? What if I were to make a new name, what would it be? Like, how about that? So if I had one major grievance, that would be it. At least call yourself Ghost-Spider in the comic book if it wasn't already established prior. That could have happened. That was an easy fix. Too late now is what it is. Anyway, I'm still going to read this because this does look interesting. I need that conundrum part that I said with Peter to be fixed and that crazy. What? Don't you have better things to do than this nonsense? And also, she didn't seem to take anything seriously. Everything was like, I really need a burger. Is it because I'm in this new universe I need a burger? I really need a burger. Oh, and then something that I think everybody's going to hate. The idea of, I've got a friend named Harry who's rich, and there he is right there. Hey, Harry, could you buy me some food? Because, I'm hungry. Nobody needs that kind of friend. Nobody needs that kind of friend. Nobody. A friend in need is a friend indeed. I don't think that quite means what you think it means. Look up that idiom, and I think you'll understand. A friend in need, that's not a positive thing. Anyway, this was the preamble to fun. I want to read this character. I'm going to need the character to be written a whole lot better than what I'm seeing. Look, it's an issue number 1. It's a stem off of an event. So if there's only going to be 3 issues of this, I'm going to read it as though, why bother? You know what I'm saying? But this could be written in a way that this guy, that the people in charge of this comic book could potentially get a lifetime contract to write this freaking character, you know? Could, but it's going to have to be a lot better than this for me to jump on that in order to read it. I'm really just reading this to try and understand Spider-Geddon better. You want me to actually give a rat's behind about the character? Then when you make a new Ghost-Spider comic book, I don't want to see this writer on the comic book if nothing's explained. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather see somebody else attached to the comic book if this isn't going to be explained. Too many loose ends for an issue number 1. Way too many loose ends. Some of them trivial. Some of them, what? So anyway, character needs to be written better. That being said, guys, I still actually enjoyed this, believe it or not. All right, that's going to be it for me, though. Professor Bell, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.